Hey everybody, welcome to the Mainstream Indie Music channel. We talk about all things indie music, and from time to time on this channel, I might tend to get a little bit biased, where I talk about music that I specifically know, that I specifically grew up on. And this week was one of those weeks where I kind of had to cheat a little bit and simply talk about a band and a song that I enjoy that kind of shaped my musical tastes. Because last weekend on Saturday Night Live, the band Gorillaz performed for the very first time. Now, going into this uh, show, I was curious as to what songs Gorillaz was going to do. I even wondered, would he try to do like a mesh of a couple of songs, or maybe they would even try to squeeze in three performances? Because they had been a band for over 20 years at that point before even showing up to the show. And the song, of course, as you can see in the title, is one of the songs that they first got big off of. And to my joy, this was the very first song that they decided to go with. The song, Clint Eastwood. Now, to understand the significant impact that this song had on this group and on indie music in general, we have to go back to the beginning days of the Gorillaz as a band themselves. Because some people think that this song was Damon himself speaking out against art and creativity, specifically in the music scene in the late 90s and early 2000s. Now, Damon Albarn, where did he come from? Well, he came from Blur. And that's important because he could kind of stand on his own 2 feet as an individual artist as it was, without having to make this kind of statement. I think that's why him kind of speaking out against the music industry in general was had some weight to it, had some gravity to it. Because Blur was big as a band, like I wouldn't say they were massive in the 90s or anything like that, but I mean, they had a few hits. They were well known, especially over in Europe. And so when Damon all of a sudden decided to kind of just pull the plug on the project and start his own, a lot of people in the rock scene did not like that. They did not think it was going to work. And especially when you started to hear what was coming out from the Gorillaz camp, it was something completely different. So Damon wasn't trying to recreate the magic of Blur and then strike out on his own. He was trying something completely new. Around this period of time, Damon had started to notice how formulaic music was starting to get, how commercial music was starting to get. You think of the boy and girl bands from the late 90s, the early 2000s. Creativity itself was starting to dwindle in his eyes. Especially with the death of Kurt Cobain, I kind of think that kind of brought on this huge commercialization of music and trying to blend both things together, even including hip-hop, trying to blend them as well. And Damon didn't want his new group, the Gorillaz, to be formulaic. He didn't want people to kind of be able to look at them and say, oh, Gorillaz is a rock band, Gorillaz is a rap band, whatever. He wanted them to be able to do whatever music sounded good, no matter what genre it was. Now, what's kind of funny is when Clint Eastwood was written and it was time to lay down the music for the track, they simply pressed a button on their keyboard and the music started to play. That's right. It was a preset mix that was already loaded onto the computer, or the keyboard rather, that they ended up using. Now, of course, his producer and himself decided to add in extra beats, extra layers to the song as well. But yeah, the main riff that you hear throughout the entire song came from that preset, which is kind of funny. Now, what's really cool too is Del, the funky Homo sapien, was actually not picked originally to be a part of this song in general. In fact, they had a completely different group of people in mind, a different set of lyrics that they were using. And once again, their team, Dan the Automator and their mixer, decided to say, hey, we have somebody else in mind that we want to use for doing the verses. And at the time, Del was an underground rapper. And on top of that, he was more so in the deep underground, when I say that as well. Hip hop and rap and music in general is not how it is today, where people can kind of get their music out there quickly. It was much more difficult to get noticed. So that was really cool that they decided to feature somebody who was up and coming. Now, people know the song definitely from the very opening line from the chorus. I ain't happy, I'm feeling glad. You kind of sing that right away and people immediately know what you're referencing. But also the name itself, the title of the track, Clint Eastwood. Damon has stated that the name simply just came from, he thought that the preset sound in the keyboard sounded like a lot of the music from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, hence Clint Eastwood was included. Also, people, especially with the kind of the Moog board and the synth near the end, almost harmonica sounding, think that it almost fits the soundtrack to the movie, of course, as well. So you kind of have both those things working for you. Now, one last kind of big thing to note is Gorillaz is very well known for not featuring Damon or his producer at all. It's not like he's front and center in each music video singing to the camera, pretty much like 99% of bands are that are in the musical world. No, Gorillaz wanted to do something completely different and feature 4 animated characters, which we all know and love today, especially when Feel Good Incorporated came out. So, more important was the music video, because Damon wanted to set the standard with this, one of their first early hits, and have the music video feature around these 4 characters and kind of continue their own story arc, either whether it's with the music of the video or if it's completely separated. They've had their own storyline. In fact, if you go on like Google or Wikipedia and look them up, you will find his 4 automated characters' complete backstory. It's kind of cool. So he's kept this going for 20 plus years. And the last thing to note while wrapping this video up is, it's no question it's had a huge influence on indie music. I mean, genre blending, where you can't really tell what genre it's supposed to fit, kind of perfectly starting the alternative kind of genre. Blending of like hip hop, rap, and just normal music became more and more popular too. It's huge. One of the biggest songs of the 2000s. What do you all think of the song? Let me know in the comments.